Illinois.
I still find people who would assume that you were probably born in Budapest or in...
Alec Wolcott got so angry with me once at a party. He introduced me because he was the one who kind of started me again in show business, and he presented me as somebody at a party that should be interesting. And there I was, 19 years old. There wasn't anything interesting to say about me. I hadn't done anything in America. And whatever, you know, he says, well, Orsen was born in Peking. And I said, no. And a look of hatred came over Alex's face when I had told him it was Kenosha, Wisconsin, instead of Peking, because it was the only interesting thing he could think of to say about me.
But there are people who won't believe you were born in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Is there part of Wisconsin they've not been able to take out of the boy? I mean, is there any Midwesternism still in you?
Lots, but not Kenosha, because I left at about 3 weeks. I was spirited out of town at the age of 3 weeks. But I was raised partly. My father bought a country hotel in a town with a population of 150 people called Grand Detour, Illinois. And he had this hotel because he had the kind of inverted snobism that made it impossible for him to have a country house. So he had a country hotel, and he didn't allow any guests in it. Any paying guests. They had to be just his friends. And anybody came hoping for a room, there was no highway past it or anything. They didn't have a chance of a bed. That was always said, we're full up. They could see it was empty, you know. And he had great cooks, and he made his own, had his own bakehouse, his own smokehouse, and lived this great kind of 1880 life, you know, and there was no car in town. We rode with a horse and buggy. It was like being raised 70 years ago instead of my real children. It was a wonderful experience. And he spent 2 months every year at in Grand Detour running this hotel. And the servants were all old show business people, because my father was mad about old but cheap show business people. There was a fellow called Rattlesnake Oil Emery, who had been a medicine show man. And there was a lady who could do the call of the birds, you know, by whistling. It was all made up of these kind of people who who just lived there and ran this hotel and refused anybody a room in it until my father would come and stay. And it burnt down with him in it. He escaped, coming out of the flames while all his jade collection from China burned up and everything else. He was a very old man, because he was quite old when I was born. He emerged from the flames in a dressing gown, a real nightshirt, you know, the comic nightshirt, with a parrot in a cage, and a signed photograph of Trixie Ferganza under his arm.
Who is Trixie Ferganza?
Trixie Ferganza was from the era of flesh-colored tights, you know.
And those were his treasures?
Well, that was what he brought out of the fire. He was an extraordinary sort of man.
Did you lose all your possessions once in a similar...
Yes, in a fire about 4 years ago in my house in Spain. My wife's house, really. And we weren't there. And Robert Shaw was staying there. And to get my papers and everything that I valued away from his kids and all the precious things, he put them in one wing of the house. And he also put the manuscript of his play, of which there was only one copy, in that wing, which was then struck by lightning and burnt to the ground. Oh, yes, all I did was laugh when anything is that bad. You know, I had the cup that Lincoln had given my grandfather when he was a little boy. I had my bullfighting pictures. I had every kind of thing you can imagine. And it all went up in smoke.
You didn't ask God to help you out of a joke again, had you?
No, I didn't.